Welcome to Explicit Expression, where it's facts over feelings. My name is Adam, and I'm going to tell you how it is, and I don't care how you feel about it. Let's go. All right, let's go. We back on another one. You already know what it is. It's your boy. All right, let's get into this video.
Welcome back. We just capped a very busy night here at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago, Illinois. The official Democratic vice presidential nominee, Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota, accepted his party's nomination as he introduced himself to the American people in this rather truncated process. Right now, let's get reaction to the message we've heard from the Democrats this evening from the Republican vice presidential nominee, Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio. Senator Vance, thank you so much for joining us. What's your reaction to what you heard from your counterpart and from the Democrats this evening in Chicago?
High school or college basketball team or something like that, football team or sports in general. Here go my boy JD with the three. You know what I'm saying? It's your boy JD. Let's go.
Well, I think it's an interesting contrast, Jake, between what President Trump and I are offering, which is very simple. We are advancing policies that are going to lower the cost of housing, lower the cost of food, secure the southern border, and raise wages for the middle class. And Kamala Harris really can't run on accomplishing that because her policies have, in fact, caused a lot of the problems and a lot of the suffering that we see in our country. So what you see from the Democrats is instead this argument that if you want to vote for Donald Trump because you want to change the direction of this country, you're somehow a bad person. And I really think that that dark message really doesn't gel at all with the idea that somehow the Democrats are the joyful party. There's a lot of attacks on Donald Trump, a lot of criticisms of what he's done and what he's said, not a whole lot of positive vision for how Kamala Harris is going to fix the problems that plague the country.
There's also been some criticisms of you. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg this evening spoke tonight. He took aim at one of your past comments from 2021 that Americans that don't have children have, quote, no...
That's all they do is complain about Trump. They don't give any good policy or how they're going to fix whatever problem it is that they think Trump caused. They never talk about that. They always talk about how they hate Trump, how bad Trump is, what Trump says, how he's trying to fuck people's life up. But people want to know how you're going to fix the problems that you caused, you and your people caused.
Physical commitment to the future of this country, unquote. I want you to take a listen and get your reaction.
You know, Senator, when I deployed to Afghanistan, I didn't have kids then. Many of the men and women who went outside the wire with me didn't have kids either. But let me tell you, our commitment to the future of this country was pretty damn physical.
What's your response?
What the hell does that even mean? He said a whole bunch of nothing. What the hell does that even mean, bro? Jesus.
Well, my response, Jake, is that Pete Buttigieg has taken a sarcastic remark that I made 3 years ago and turned it into something to distract from the fact that his leadership has seen higher transportation costs, higher fuel costs, and higher food prices for American citizens all over our country. These guys act so focused on a sarcastic quip that I made that they ignore the fact that under Kamala Harris's leadership, Americans can't afford the basic necessities of a good life in this country. And so I appreciate that Pete...
That's a mic drop. He should have dropped the mic right there. He should have just shrugged his shoulder and just mic drop. And that's what I just said. They so worry about the comments that people make, how people worry about how they're going to get people to vote for them and attack their feelings, their fears, instead of just telling people what you plan on doing, how you plan on doing it, and how you're going to fix the problems they're having. But all they do is talk about how they don't like Trump and the Republican Party.
Pete Buttigieg pretends to be offended by what I said. I think Pete should be offended by the fact that under his leadership as Secretary of Transportation, the government took in $8 billion to build 7 electric vehicle chargers.
Oh, yeah. So Pete Buttigieg, I guess he was the transportation leader, or he was over the transportation sector in Kamala and Biden's government. He did an interview because he was responsible to create all these charging infrastructure places for all these EV vehicles that they're pushing out so much, right? Because they want everybody to go EV. He said it himself that they got so much money, but they only built like I think 7 or 8 charging stations over God knows how many years. With all this money they got, they only built 7. I'm gonna react to that video. It's crazy what they're doing. So what happened to all this money? You're forcing people to go get these EVs, but the infrastructure for the charging stations is not there. People are traveling, getting stuck on the road. You have to spend 2-3 hours to charge a car in full. That shit is crazy.
Charging facilities at a time when Americans are paying 45% more for the gas that transports them to work. That's what we should be focused on, and that's what we should be talking about. And it illustrates, Jake, my entire criticism of the Democratic approach here is
they got to show what they've been doing. They got to prove. They got to show some policy. They got to show people what they've been doing, and they're not able to do that if they got to talk about policies. They're going to lose.
Focused on fake issues instead of the real record. And the real record is that Kamala Harris has made this country poorer. Donald Trump made the middle class richer, and he caused a lot of peace and prosperity to break out in this country and all over the world. It's a very simple contrast, and I wish the Democrats would focus on the issues.
Why would they
There was another comment about you I wanted to get a reaction to. This evening we heard a bit about January 6, 2021. We saw a video of police officers getting assaulted. Take a listen to what Maryland Congressman Jamie Raskin said the other night about you.
And by the way, J.D. Vance, do you understand why there was a sudden job opening for running mate on the GOP ticket? They tried to kill your predecessor.
Worry about the wrong thing.
Do you have any reservations at all taking the ticket, taking the opportunity to serve as a vice presidential nominee, given what happened to Vice President Pence on January 6th?
What they got to do with him? Hang Pence. Hang that nigga. That nigga a betrayer. He betrayed Donald Trump. Hang that nigga, bro. What the fuck? What they got to do with him?
No, not at all, Jake. And look, I can't help but laugh at what Jamie Raskin said. These are people who somehow always make themselves the victims. Jamie Raskin should be much more worried about the fact that there are a lot of Americans that can't afford to buy groceries, that can't afford to put their children in a nice home because of the policies that he has implemented and he has voted for. I just don't understand a person in American politics in 2024 who's whining about what happened to them instead of using their leadership and using their influence to make the lives of American citizens better. I have no reservations about taking this job because I know that if we make Donald J. Trump president of the United States, he's going to deliver rising wages, lower prices, and a secure border.
Facts.
That is all worth it for me, whatever the media or Jamie Raskin says about me.
Let them keep talking. They don't mean nothing.
I want to play some of what Governor Walz said during his speech, his acceptance speech earlier tonight, and get your reaction.
That creepy ass nigga.
It's an agenda that serves nobody except the richest and the most extreme amongst us. And it's an agenda that does nothing for our neighbors in need. Is it weird? Absolutely. Absolutely. But it's also wrong. And it's dangerous.
Your reaction to that?
Well, when Donald Trump was president, Jake, you had people buying homes at record rates. You had young Americans who were able to afford to raise a family. You had people who could afford the basic trappings of middle-class life in this country. And so when Tim Walz says that Donald Trump's agenda doesn't work for middle-class Americans, he already was president for 4 years, and his agenda worked very well for middle-class Americans. Again, I just wish, I would love for Tim Walz or Kamala Harris or anybody else to say that during the 3.5 years that Kamala Harris was vice president, here is the thing that she did to make groceries more affordable. Here is the thing that she did to make it possible to raise a family in this country. Or here's the thing that she did to secure rather than open up the border. Because they can't talk about Kamala Harris's record, they're creating a phantom of...
She don't have a record, and once she have it so fucked up. It's Biden's record. It's fucked up. We're living in it now. She don't have one. Why would they run on something that's fucked up? So of course they're gonna lean on scaring people, making people feel some type of way. You know, that's all they can do, bro. That's all they can do, and that's what they're gonna do.
Donald Trump's leadership, the Donald Trump that I know and that the American people know, I think produced really good results for the American people. It's a record to be proud of, and a record I'd like to get back to, frankly, because it was good for the American people.
Both you and President Trump have suggested that there's something wrong or illegitimate about the way that Kamala Harris replaced Joe Biden on the Democratic ticket. Now that the Democratic convention is here, do you accept Kamala Harris, Vice President Harris?
No. And for these Democratic voters who are all happy and hooray and shouting and running around in the streets and shit, yeah, I know they just committed a coup, right? They forced this nigga out the nomination, but he's on stage saying that he stepped. Nigga, you didn't step down. You clearly was just in an interview saying that you didn't want to step down. I think a couple of days before they even started, before you even said you were stepping down, you said you wasn't gonna step down, that you are the nominee. So now all of a sudden, after all of these elected Democrat people go on TV and start asking you to step down, all on TV, on every goddamn platform you can find it, on there talking shit about this man. All of a sudden, he chooses to step down, and then they don't even have a vote or anything, right? They just pick Kamala, and I still think they haven't voted yet. They just push her out. Here we go. I thought y'all was about democracy again. What happened to democracy?
As the legal and legitimate presidential nominee of the Democratic Party?
Well, first of all, Jake, she's certainly
the... It's funny how you call them the Democratic Party, but everything they do is undemocratic.
Legitimate nominee of the Democratic Party. We're going to debate her, and we're going to try to beat her in November. But I do think it's a little bizarre how the Democrats went about this. We have to remember that for 3.5 years, Kamala Harris and a lot of Democrats said that Joe Biden was totally fit for the job. That was revealed to be a lie. And then when it became obvious that Joe Biden was political dead weight, they replaced him without casting a single Democrat primary vote. Exactly. That doesn't make it illegal, but it certainly makes it a little bizarre. And if I was a Joe Biden voter, I'd be pretty frustrated at the way that this unfolded.
Before you go, quickly, if you could, CNN's reporting that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is expected to suspend his presidential campaign on Friday. It's been reported that he's considering endorsing Donald Trump, especially if he gets made Secretary of Health and Human Services or such. Have the two men been talking? Do you expect an endorsement? How much might it help?
You know, so I don't talk to Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Jake. I certainly listen to what he says, and I do think that he is a guy who recognizes that the Kennedy Democrats of old have been replaced by the Kamala Harris Democrats who support high inflation and open borders. So I'm not surprised that he feels left behind by the Democratic Party. I think a lot of Democrats, a lot of people like my grandparents feel left behind by the Democratic Party. I would certainly welcome his endorsement of Donald Trump. I've seen the same reports you mentioned. I don't know if it's actually going to happen, but I certainly hope it does, because I do think it would be helpful, because it drives home this idea that the Democratic Party of John F. Kennedy, it's just not the Democratic Party of 2024. Let's get back to common sense. And unfortunately, the only American leader running on common sense right now at a national level is Donald Trump.
Senator
Come on, bro. This fucking let's get back to common sense, bro. What happened to common sense? What happened to you knowing when something is wrong and fucked up that we shouldn't just support it? We shouldn't back it. What happened to that? I want to hear that again, bro.
2024. Let's get back to common sense. And unfortunately, the only American leader running on common sense right now at a national level is Donald Trump.
Donald Trump.
Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio, thanks so much. Safe travels, sir.
Ate him up.
Good night, Jake. Thanks.
This nigga, bruh. I see why Trump picked this nigga, bro. This nigga stand on business, bro. This nigga, he says what the hell he want to say, how he want to say it. And Trump is the same way. So I understand and I see why he picked this nigga. This is the right nigga for the job. And his explanation of things, when they ask him questions, the way he answers the question and then comes back and give it right back to him. Like, bruh, what y'all gonna do with him? Nothing. Y'all can't fuck with Trump and y'all ain't fucking with his VP. This nigga just... What y'all gonna ask this nigga? This nigga sitting there with a smile on his face like, okay, they try to hang Pence. Yeah, he's a traitor. Hang that motherfucker. I don't give a fuck. Right? But that got nothing to do with me. I'm confident in myself and why they picked me and I'm going to do the job. Come on, bro. I'm out.